All right, you're it.
Live? All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heeman's. We're out here in one of our strawberry fields, and I'm Tom Heeman, one of the strawberry farmers here, and we're going to show you how this all works. Well, as much as I can explain in this short period of time. So we're getting right up on the typical strawberry season here in southwestern Ontario. The berries are starting to ripen, and we're just getting into that first pick time. So limited quantities are out there, but again, you'll start to understand what's behind all that in a moment. So to start off, I'm going to talk about how we plant strawberries. So strawberries are kind of unique in that we don't always plant them from seed. We plant them from a cutting or a runner, or sometimes described as a clone. And that means that all of our strawberries are almost exactly genetically identical. And that allows them to have the same taste and growth habit. And that's kind of how we manage them differently. So right now, we're standing in a field of one of our latest June varieties, and they're called June varieties because they start to produce fruit in June. So these ones are kind of a little bit funnier. You could call them a July strawberry because we're in June and I don't see any red. But if you get a little closer, what you do see is the amazing things about eating a piece of fruit is how nutrition and energy, and it's kind of unique that we can see called Malwina, and we're gonna take a look at some of our earliest variety called Wendy. This up here, you can see we have kind of like a little bit of a bush, and that's where strawberries is one of the few perennial fruits that grows like this, and it's very very low to the ground in this little bush. So you have a point down here, which is where we would have planted that first little cutting, and we might be able to show you an example of that later. But yeah, that has grown up all over the last year. We just got finished planting this year's new crop of strawberry plants. So again, little plants with a little set of root on them, and we plant them in a row, and that allows us to take care of them in a pretty efficient and uniform manner.
Questions? Question is, where is the best place to grow strawberries?
Well, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna try and be diplomatic on that, and not say here at Heeman's, but I think that strawberries they have a couple requirements. They do need to get cold, so they do need a little bit of a cold period. So that's where strawberries are grown in almost every province and territory in Canada, which is kind of unique for a piece of fruit. And so it can get cold, but what we do is we put some straw on it for insulation, and then that prevents that little piece of plant from freezing entirely. So that allows it to be grown in a lot of different places, all the way down to Florida and Mexico. But one thing I would say is that they do like it to be relatively cool during this time when they're fruiting, and so 15 to 25 is optimal. And they do like to have drier roots, so sandier soils or a sandy loam or a lightly textured loam soil, in combination with those climate elements.
And Ashley is asking, how many strawberries do you plant at one time?
We plant thousands of strawberries at one time. So roughly in this one row here alone, we will have planted about 1,000 Yeah.
Back camera.
Hello. And we have 20 rows, and there's 4 blocks in 1 hectare. That's about 80,000 plants right there in 1 hectare. We have 7 hectares here, so that's about 560,000 plants that got planted here just this section. A fun fact that the plants will clone themselves, and they'll send out those little runners. Like, one of the reasons the strawberry is called a strawberry is because they send out a piece of tissue in the shape of a straw that's called it's a runner, and it looks like a straw, and that's why the French, when they first discovered them, called them fraisier, which is French for straw, which is what we know now as fraise. And again, that's where strawberries get their name, not necessarily from this straw, but from that kind of history. And so that also ends up
All right, you're good. You're live.
so. Yeah, I forget what we were talking about. I think we were talking about runners, and the botanical name is stolen.
When we plant strawberries.
So when we plant, we typically plant in the spring, And because these plants, we actually bring them in from Nova Scotia, from a strawberry farm that all they grow are strawberry plants. So that saves us a lot of time, and they make sure that we have really healthy plants that we can put in the ground. So they come in what's known as dormant. So they're sleeping. So we have sleeping plants, and they're at a low temperature. They're cold, so they don't mind the frost. So we can get these in basically whenever the ground is fit enough, when it's dry enough, but there's just a little bit of moisture underneath there, and we've made the beds. So typically what we'll do is we'll use a cultivator and make a nice fluffy soil, and then pull it into rows, and that's what we call a bed. And generally we get that done around the May 2-4, and that also we can go a little bit earlier if it's drier. But again, that's kind of when the risk of frost is lower.
Whitney would like to know what you like best about strawberry farming.
Well, I think the thing I like best about strawberry farming is that I get to meet all kinds of different people in the strawberry industry. People who grow strawberries. It's kind of a demanding crop. It requires a lot of care and attention, and also meeting customers when they get to eat a strawberry and have that first bite, right? Like we like to we grow fruit because it tastes great, and it puts a smile on people's faces, and so that's probably what I enjoy the most, is seeing people getting to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Okay, so so we'll get back into how we grow the strawberry. So again, here, and if you get a little closer here, you can see where a piece of fruit starts. So this everything's coming from a point below the ground here, and that's called a crown. And the crown is the point that is the most like a woody shrub. So that's why these are a bush, is because there is a piece of woody material down there, and that's what separates the root system from the leaves, and eventually these fruiting trusses. And so you can see right here, this is a small what we call bud. There's another one. Here.
Oh, we're back.
We're back? Okay. So yeah, you can see that there starts to be more and more of these flower blooms. And what's really unique about this variety is just how many of these flowers are coming out. And these are berries that we won't even get to see for another month. So once you have that bloom, it's about 30 days from that flower, once a bee visits it and pollinates it, before it turns into a strawberry. So we're gonna go over here and see how that's been making out on our Wendy. So again, we're gonna see some familiar characters. We got a nice set of leaves here, and yeah, there's a leaf. The leaf has 3 distinct leaflets. But here's our friend again. That bloom. So again, this is what happens after you get pollination. It drops the petals, and that yellow part turns green. And on the outside of it are all the seeds. So that's kind of unique. You probably recognize that from eating a strawberry. It's that you get the yellow seed. It's the flesh that supports the seeds. So again, you go from a tight green fruit to a white fruit, And here we're getting a little bit of blush on it, and that's where you really start to get some heat, and berries will put on that color, and that helps defend them against the really harsh rays from the sun, and that allows them to last just a little bit longer into a piece of fruit. So it's really kind of amazing how you go from just at one point deep down in that crown, a couple cells that just start to change and change and change, and then that happens once the sun gets to the highest point in the sky. That cell just starts to change. So it's been almost 8 months since that one cell has been transformed into the bud, and then into the bloom, and then in a month into a piece of fruit.
So Brooklyn is wondering, do strawberries have bugs?
They do have bugs. They have all kinds of bugs. And that's one of the things as a farmer, we have to really understand and get to know who are the friends of our strawberry plants, and who are the good bugs that can help us take care of our plants, and who are the bugs that are going to, try and eat different parts of our plant, because, they love strawberries too, but in a bit of a different way. So yeah, some things can eat, they can eat the berry, or they can eat parts of the plant, and then it affects the plant's ability to even make a berry. Pardon?
Do you want to switch?
Sure. All right. So I'm getting a signal from my partner here, Susan, that she's getting pretty excited, and she wants to show you how to pick some berries. So we're gonna change places here.
Hi everybody, I am Susan here at Heeman's. So a fun fact about Tom and I, we both grew up on strawberry farms. So I grew up on a strawberry farm in Norfolk County. So you can definitely grow strawberries all over Ontario. And I was lucky enough to get my favorite part of the strawberry season. I'm gonna show you how to pick the strawberries. So Tom has talked all about how we plant them. We do have to water strawberries quite often. So just like you, when it gets hot outside, we have to give these plants tons of water so that they can grow our beautiful fruit. And just like you have to drink your water so you can grow nice and tall. So these plants get fed and they get watered frequently to make sure that they're able to be healthy plants producing our beautiful fruit that you can pick. So here at Heeman's, we offer strawberries at our retail location. So if you've ever been close to the London airport, we sell our strawberries in a quart just like this. And we also offer pick your own. So you can come to our family farm, typically mid to late June, and pick your own strawberries in some of our patches. So Tom, there's a question.
Yeah, so Victor would like to know, how do you know when strawberries are ready to be picked?
That's an excellent question, Victor. So my favorite part is discovering the first of the season, the reddest, ripest berries. So that's how you know a strawberry is ripe. What we want to find is a strawberry that's red all the way through. And the hardest part is waiting for the strawberry to get all the way red, especially at the tip. So let's try and find a strawberry here. So we're going to look down here. Now this one looks nice and red here. And the trick is when you flip it up, you can see that the tip of my strawberry here is a little bit pink. So that's one that I'm gonna leave for next time. But when we're moving around our canopy, I'm gonna look, ooh, there's a red ripe strawberry. I'm gonna flip it over, and that one is red all the way through. So what I'm gonna do is between two fingers here and under the hull, I'm just gonna pop the strawberry up. You hear it makes a nice sound. We don't want to use our fingers and squish the berries, because then we're going to have little fingerprints all over our fruit, and that one can go in our basket. So the trick is to making sure it's red all the way around, and then not using our fingers, but actually just lifting the berry up with our hands so that we're not damaging that fruit. So it will stay nice and firm in our fridge if it makes it home that far. Usually when I'm picking strawberries, as Tom can tell you, they don't typically make it home with us. They usually get eaten in the field. So we can look here again. So we can see our pink strawberries here and our white tip. We're gonna leave that one. The more red it is, the more sugar is gonna be in that fruit. So we want to make sure the strawberry is nice and red before we pick it, so it's nice and sweet for us to eat. Now, Wendy's are one of our earliest varieties, so these ones are coming along quite nicely. And I won't make Tom move too much, but we'll see if there's any other ripe fruit here closer to the end. So we're wandering along, making sure when we pick strawberries, the strawberries like to hide under our canopy. So all of these green leaves like to protect the strawberry. So you can see here we have a nice red strawberry. Oh, we have a pink tip here, so I'm gonna have to leave that one. You can see it's not red all the way through. I'm gonna leave that one for later. But as I come right into the middle here, what's waiting for me is a beautiful red ripe one right in the middle. So again, I'm gonna take my 2 fingers here and pull up, and we've got a strawberry for our basket.
Okay, we have another question.
Another question.
How many strawberries can be picked from one plant? So I'm going to take that question just because it's not as easy as you'd think, and it really depends on the year. So again, if you take a look at what we call this it's known as a hand of fruit or a fruit truss. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pieces of fruit coming along there. And again, here's another one. This one has 3 and potentially 4. And look what happened over here. There's number 5 and number 6. But something happened to these guys along the way because you can't see a piece of fruit coming there. And so what happened to those ones was that early on, Jack Frost got into them, and he damaged that yellow part, and so they never turned into a fruit. So on average, some of these plants will have, right, there's 1, 2, 3 different flower trusses. So you have the potential there to make anywhere from 15 to 20 pieces of fruit. And depending on how the previous year went, you can sometimes have, up to 7 different hands of fruit coming out of a plant, and sometimes even more. If you remember over on that Malwina, how many of those little fruit trusses were coming out? There was a lot. So that one already had 8, and it was still producing more. And so that's where you can have anything from, 20 berries all the way up to 100. It really just depends on the variety and the planting conditions and how it was taken care of, along with how the spring went.
All right. So we've picked some berries and put them in our basket. At Pick Your Own, we allow you to pick your own, so you get to find your juiciest berries that you can. A little secret I like to let people know is the biggest ones are not always the best strawberries. I always say the smallest berries are the best strawberries because you get the most amount of sugar in those ones. So I always like to pick the little ones that are nice and dark red, because those are going to be the sweetest treats for you. There's another question.
Yes. So we have a question. Do you hand pick all your berries, or do you have a machine that can help you?
That's an excellent question. So we actually hand harvest, we hand pick all of our strawberries here on the farm. So there have been some ways that the Heemans have decided to try and find different ways to make it more comfortable, because as you can see, the strawberries are quite low to the ground. So you physically have to get all the way down here to pick your strawberries. That's some back-breaking work. So Heemans have used something called a picker. So it was a nice long slab where people actually laid on their stomachs and were able to pick strawberries like this. Since then, we have gone back to just picking in our rows. It's fairly quick for us. And sometimes when we have the most fruit at one time, a picker can pick up to six or 8 flats. So 8 quarts is a flat. So 8 of these guys in a flat, they could pick 6 to 8 flats in an hour. So they are very quick at picking strawberries. And I think they would take any of you to a race to pick. I might take you up on that offer too. I'm a pretty quick picker. But it's making sure you have fast hands, you're treating those berries right, and making sure they make it into the basket nice and firm and whole and beautiful looking.
So we have a question from Hannah, which is, will the strawberries rot if you leave them on the plant too long?
Excellent question, Hannah. So this is something that we deal with frequently in our June season. Because it's nice and hot and toasty right now, our strawberries are ripening very quickly. So if you leave them on the vine, the plant is going to keep giving nutrition to that strawberry and keep ripening it. And everybody's had a banana that's maybe a little too yellow, maybe a little bit brown on the outside. It's really sweet, but it goes soft and mushy. The same thing will happen to strawberries. So once a strawberry is picked, it will not get any sweeter. But if you leave it on the plant, it will continue to get sweet. So if you leave it on the plant too long, it will get overripe, it will go soft, and it will start to go mushy and ferment on you, or rot. So we definitely have to keep ahead of it. And so we have to plan when we pick our fields to make sure that we're picking them clean, and so that the next strawberries that come off of those plants will have a nice dry, clean area where we can pick from. So that's the magic at Pick Your Own. We always ask our customers to pick all the berries, little and big, to make sure that there aren't any rotten berries the next time we have to go through.
We have a question from Grace. Do you grow any other items on your farm?
Yes, excellent question, Grace. So we are not just a strawberry farm. We actually are a garden center and greenhouse. So we grow lots of plants here at Heeman's. So many of the flowers that you're used to seeing in your gardens, and as well as vegetables, we will grow here. We also grow raspberries on site. So we don't have Pick Your Own for raspberries, but we do grow raspberries and sell them at our retail store here. And we also grow a lot of things known as cash crops. So crops that we will grow and harvest that we don't actually need to use on our farm, but we will then sell, like corn and soybeans and wheat.
Yeah, you can see some soybeans right over here. And yeah, so that also helps us keep what's known as a diverse rotation, and that by using the soil to grow a lot of different things instead of the same thing over and over again, then that keeps our soil healthy and keeps the weeds within a manageable level. So that's why we grow all those additional crops like corn and soybeans and wheat. And again, the wheat creates the straw that we then put down on the ground to protect our strawberries.
So the way I like to think of it is our strawberries, or any plant for that matter, likes to have soil that's nice and healthy. Just like when you sit in the same spot in your couch and you get that little dent from sitting in that same spot, maybe mom or dad has sat in that same spot for all that you can remember. You can feel it when you sit in that spot. It might not be as cushy and cozy as other spots. So just like soil, we want to make sure there's not one thing in that soil all the time, to make sure that it's a nice, healthy, rich soil that we can plant other items into.
So we had a question from Heeman, who is asking, what type of soil do you need to grow strawberries? And I guess the simplest answer to that is that we like a what's called a lightly textured soil. So we have just kind of what's almost on the edge of being able to grow some nice strawberries. So, and we have what's known as a clay loam. And so the clay is a little bit heavier. They're really, really, really small particles. And so most soil is made out of sand, silt, and clay. And so a clay loam has all of those three parts, but it has more clay than any other part. But because it's loamy, it means it's nice and light and can get fluffy. And that extra clay allows us to keep more water in it. And strawberries, they need water, but they also need to breathe. And that's why they do like to have lighter textured soils. So something more to a loam or a sandy loam would be your ideal soil conditions. So the strawberries that we grow are a mix between strawberries from the woods in the eastern North America and strawberries from South America on the sand, on beaches. And so that's why there's kind of a nice little combination there between being a little bit like a beach and a little bit more like a more kind of wet woodland area. So question from Megan. Susan, how long do strawberries stay fresh, and should they be in the fridge?
Excellent question. So, when you pick a strawberry at its optimum ripeness, I always say the best it's going to get is right in your mouth. They're super tasty as soon as you pick them. Now, if you have a nice firm strawberry, these will keep quite well, but we would recommend putting them in the fridge. The other trick that we recommend is to not let them touch water until you're ready to eat them. So if you bring your strawberries home and you want to rinse them off, we would say don't rinse them until you're ready to consume. So if you want to leave these ones because you're going to snack on them at school tomorrow, we're going to put these straight into the fridge so they stay nice and cool. We're going to bring them out, then give them a rinse, and then you can have a great snack. So excellent question there. Now, does that lead us into my favorite part of the day, which is taste testing? So all of our different varieties here at Heeman's, and there's many different strawberry varieties that we don't grow, are all going to taste a little bit different. So the strawberries that we're picking right now, they are a dark red, nice and sweet, and they have a really great point on them. As you can see, this is a Wendy. We haven't started picking these quite yet, but you can see a really nice rounded end there. And they like to stay kind of that lighter red. They will get darker as the season goes on, but I'm gonna have my first taste. There's nothing better than a fresh strawberry. Absolutely delicious. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, and we got a question from Roman, which is, when will strawberries be ready for us to come and eat?
Oh, yes, excellent question. So we have started our season. We have been picking for a little while now. We do have a limited supply, so we are selling strawberries every day at the greenhouse currently. We have a berry hotline, so you can actually call us up and listen to see what our berry supply will be. In about the next week, we will have an amazing supply of strawberries. So in the next 7 days, you'll be able to come at any time during the day, and we'll have strawberries all day long for you. And in 7 to 10 days, we'll be starting our pick your own season. So if you are in the London area, you can come on out. Just watch for our messages or call our berry hotline, and we'll let you know when pick your own's first day is going to be. And you can come and pick your own and enjoy your fruit at home.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit more color to that question, because you can take a look for yourself, right? So again, and how much Susan had to look for the berries is that there's a couple ripe yet, but we don't have, that sea of red. When this field is in its peak, that's all you see is just red fruit. And so yeah, that's where Susan's saying about 10 days we should be right there in the thick of things. And I think that for some of our folks tuning in from different parts of the province, what I've observed is that, if you're down at the tip of southwestern Ontario, down in Essex County around Windsor, you're going to have some of the first berries going. But if you're up in Ottawa, you might be near some of the tail end. And there's usually about 3 weeks difference between the southern end to the northern end. And so that's where they're called. This variety is called a June berry. So usually you'll get them in June, and that difference between, whether it's the very beginning of June or near the tail end of it, really depends where you are in the province. And so we're a little bit south central, which is why we're on that earlier end of picking.
Excellent. Any final questions? All right, well, I think it's time for Tom to enjoy. So thank you for watching our field trip here and taking a trip out to Heeman's. We hope if you don't see us this season that you go visit one of the local strawberry farmers in your area so that you can either go taste or pick your own strawberries this season.
Thanks, everyone.